Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith. A jam-packed show today with Live Music Friday. 12-year-old musical phenom Louis Phipps joins us. A preview of the Harvest Festival at the Leverett Village Co-op as well, paired with a nice glass of wine with co-op manager and sommelier Ken Washburn.
And our continued celebration of Khalees Smith's new book, written with Holly Black. Sir Morian is what it's called. Khalees will be talking with one of our Media Lab fellows from NEPM.
But first...
Time for a Local Hero Spotlight with Jacob Nelson from CSA, the local hero, folks. And what's your name?
Emily Landeck.
And we're here at Riverland Farm in Sunderland, where, full disclosure, back in 2002, when I moved to Western Mass, was my first farm. Didn't know what a farm share was. I barely spent any time on a farm as somebody who grew up in the eastern part of the state. And we immediately jumped on and became members of Riverland Farm, getting fresh vegetables all throughout the summer. No longer doing the summer farm share, though.
Correct. We do a winter share for the months of November, December, and January. And then we sell to lots of other grocery stores, co-ops in the area, which is actually where you would mostly find our produce.
And now we're going to go take a tour of what is one of the main crops of your winter share, which is sweet potatoes.
Delicious sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato!
We pick up all the sweet potatoes out of the field. They all go into crates, and then they come into this high tunnel or this greenhouse. This is actually our propagation greenhouse that then flips over into storage curing. And the sweet potatoes have to cure for a minimum of 2 weeks before we even sell them. Part of that is having to do with trying to make their skins a little bit tougher. You know, if you see a banged up sweet potato in the grocery store, it's a little less appealing. So we try and toughen up their skins, but it also actually makes the sugars consolidate a little bit more. It makes them sweeter.
Is this a common thing that a lot of people do with sweet potatoes, or is this something that you've kind of developed?
Curing is really common.
Uh-huh.
I think everybody probably has their own system. Yeah.
Are you just doing sweet potatoes, or are you doing sweet potatoes and yams?
Just sweet potatoes. So yams are not actually, I don't think we would be able to grow them here. They're not the same family, and they're very, very much a tropical thing.
Why do we think of them as the same? I think so many people do.
Because they look very similar. They have similar textures, similar sweetness, and are often confused in supermarkets where people don't necessarily know the difference.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll get sweet potatoes and they're actually yams. Usually when you find them and they have less fibers in them, they're yams and not sweet potatoes.
Yeah. It's like when you accidentally buy a plantain thinking you're going to get a banana.
Yeah, but then you can fry the plantain.
That's true.
What's your favorite way to eat sweet potatoes?
Oh my gosh. So we did start growing a new variety, which is the Japanese sweet potato.
I love those! Those are the best!
I'll show you. They are purple skin, white flesh, and I honestly just put them whole in the oven. They're creamy and delicious, but otherwise, I've used them for everything. I use them, some people use them as substitutes for bread a lot, in Whole30 diets, all that stuff. But it did make me realize, actually, put an egg on a slice of a sweet potato. It's amazing. You can just kind of put it in anything.
It makes a really nice Benedict.
It's really good. You want to see the unveiling?
Yeah.
Let's unveil the sweet potatoes in this high tunnel hothouse where they're curing and getting even sweeter.
Everything that you can see, all the way up to the end there, is fully crates of sweet potatoes.
Yeah, milk crates, big milk crates.
Big milk crates,
filled with sweet potatoes.
Yeah, bulb crates, I think, is maybe how people would think of them. We run them through our washer so they get some water on them, which actually helps with the curing process. Humidity can actually really help with the curing process. But yeah, Khalees, you want to see the
Let's go see the Japanese ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Korea and Japan, there's trucks that just go through the neighborhood selling them just roasted. You can buy them by the bag, wrapped in foil, and just eat them just by themselves.
Chestnuts.
Yes.
It's really cool. They're really different. And when they come out of the ground, they're hot pink. And it's crazy. They then cure to be kind of purple, but then you can see the flesh is bright
snap
white,
one and a half, and there it is.
Crazy, yeah.
The texture is so different from American sweet potatoes. It tastes thick and custardy.
Yeah.
And they're just a little bit sweeter. They're so nice on their own. I rarely ever do anything to them, but I do sometimes substitute these for regular potatoes in stew because they're just sweet enough.
And they don't melt as quickly as sweet potatoes. They hold their form a little bit better, like a regular potato.
How are customers liking them? I'm imagining that people might not be as accustomed to them.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's definitely an education moment. And it's one of those things where with the CSA, you have to be trust me. Just try it, right? You just trust me and try it. And then they come back and they're do we get more of those?
I'm so happy that farms around here have started growing them because it was so hard to find them.
These can be for you.
Give the gift of Japanese sweet potatoes this holiday season.
Every kiss begins with K.
Khalees is thrilled.
I'm I'm so happy.
This is not going to influence our coverage.
No.
Hard-hitting journalism here at Riverland Farm in
I'm going
Sunderland.
to try real hard not to just make them into pie, because the other thing that I've started doing is swapping those in for sweet potatoes when I make sweet potato pie, because it makes the texture even better.
Yeah, but what color does it come out?
It still comes out like pretty like orange, because I do a mix. I don't
Okay, yeah.
It's not purely Murakami's. It's just there for like balancing out some of the sweetness and improving the texture, and it does perfectly in both.
As much as I don't want to leave this high tunnel greenhouse because it's so nice and warm in here,
But now it's refreshing when we come outside, like when you're in the sauna and then you go outside into the snow.
we're back to the fall.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful day.
Do you cut, sell, or use the leaves from the sweet potatoes?
It's so funny. The first farm I worked at, the farmer who I farmed with, he taught me about that, and they're amazing. It's delicious.
They are.
We don't sell it. I have never actually leaned into what that would look like. I think that they're also very tender, and so I think it wouldn't be a very easy wholesalable. I think if we had a summer CSA, I would definitely force it on people.
What
Yeah.
would you do with those leaves?
You saute them, you stir fry them. They're used a lot in Southeast Asia and Western Africa in stews and stuff. They're just like a nice kind of stewing green. People sleep on them because they go for the tuber and they forget that there's this whole, or don't know that there's this whole other part of the plant that is edible and actually really nice. It's green tasting because it is a green, but they're soft and velvety.
Yeah. Kind of like a better spinach.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to Khalees for always bringing up the interesting parts of plants that you didn't know that you could eat, but you can. All of the times that I have trusted Khalees, I have been very satisfied. So just, dear listeners, I want to share that with you. If you're curious about Japanese sweet potatoes or their leaves, trust Khalees.
Yeah, trust
She knows what's
Khalees.
up.
She does know what's up. How big is Riverland Farm? How much farm are you farming?
We grow on 40 acres of certified organic land. We have this kind of plot where we're standing is about 12 acres, and then the rest of that acreage is made up with 8 other sites throughout the valley. So some just down the road and then all the way up to Montague, kind of right across from Red Fire Farm.
And I think that's a thing that a lot of people know about, but maybe if you're not ensconced in the world of farming here in Western Mass, contiguous farming land is hard to come by.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you compare us to Eastern Mass and it's not even, we seem contiguous
Yeah.
to them, It's really patchwork. I mean, you look at the town map of Sunderland, the lines just they basically are zigzag diagonal lines of all these different families that own all this different land. And so, we have one piece of land that we have 3 landowners on it. So we pay 3 different checks for one piece of land. So that's fun.
And sweet potatoes are a big crop for you. Brussels sprouts,
Yeah.
which we'll go see some folks harvesting
For
some
sure.
of those in a couple minutes here, are another one. What else are some of the main things that you're growing?
Right now, we have a lot of carrots. We do a lot of storage carrots. We have a lot of cabbage in the fall. We also often will have beets, though they really struggled this year. This was not a beet year. They don't like swimming. They don't like their feet to be wet. And there's a lot of diseases that beets kind of take on really readily when it's really wet. So we don't have beets this year, but it's okay. Other people do. It's been an odd growing year, and so we're kind of the sweet potatoes loved it. The carrots loved it. The Brussels sprouts are doing great. So we're kind of leaning into those few things.
Tell us about how the wet summer, the flooding affected Riverland here on 47 in Sunderland.
We do have a lot of land along rivers, but the Connecticut River did not come up quite high enough to get to our fields, which was great. Thank goodness. However, people might remember that there were a couple different weekends in a row where we got over 4 inches of rain in a matter of hours. And so actually where we're standing, you can kind of see, surprisingly, where the Brussels sprouts was under a foot of water for 24 hours,
Not
twice.
because of flooding, but because of rain that came.
Rain.
Wow.
It was insane. We lost about 75% of our watermelons, which is one of our biggest summer crops, because they literally would just melt in the field. They just destroyed themselves.
Too much water, not enough melon.
Ironically,
too much water for your watermelons is not great.
And they actually become less sweet. It was not a watermelon year.
Should we go meet the Brussels sprouts?
Yeah. All right, let me shove these in the washroom, and then we can hop in a car and just drive down. Unless
Cool.
you want to ride a tractor.
What?
Kind of.
Is that an option?
I don't think we can all fit on a tractor.
All fit on it. Oh, you guys can come in. Come see the washroom.
Now we're going into the washroom at Riverland Farm in Sunderland with Emily.
Oh, they're about to start a big crate wash. Sanitize all of the crates that we use. But yeah, this is Tori. She runs our washroom.
Hi.
Monty?
I am.
I follow you on Instagram.
Thanks.
Otherwise, how would I know?
Right?
Fangirl hard. That was good.
What were you listening to that you shut off?
Talking Heads Radio.
Oh,
Keep
there we
it
go.
light and fun in here if we can.
Fun.
Get a groove.
Get a groove, yeah. Nice to meet you. That's the first time somebody told me they followed me on Instagram. I guess so. I don't even do anything on Instagram. I got memed on Instagram when I was in New Orleans because I had a shirt on from Kung Fu Dumplings in Provincetown. And the back of the shirt says, "I hate dumplings." Just kidding, can you imagine? So some random person saw me wearing this in New Orleans, shared it on their huge Instagram account, and then it was like shared like hundreds of thousands of times.
Whoa.
Then it became a meme in and of itself because somebody replaced dumplings with frogs. I hate frogs, just kidding, can you imagine? From this like frog fan Instagram account. So my children are all like, "Dad, you're like Instagram famous now." All because I wore this weird shirt to the Preservation Hall in New Orleans.
It's all women on your farm.
It is. We are a women-run farm, and I think that attracts women.
Was that by design or by chance?
Maybe both.
We'll say both.
I think it's awesome. I feel like it's one of the most like empowering things to be like, yeah, this 40-acre farm is run by women. And not just like run, like it is like done by women. And that is, I think, in a traditionally very masculine world in general, but also like field, no pun intended. It's really cool to be able to be like, yeah, we're women run, and we, this big group of women kicks butt every day.
Hell yeah.
Go in one car?
Sure, let's go. Shotgun. Can we squeeze in here? All right.
We can. I forgot there was a car seat.
Is that a car seat for your baby?
Forgot about my child. Yeah, that's my 2-year-old.
You just bought this farm in 2020, which is a great year to get involved in this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Full time. How is it balancing motherhood and farminghood?
It's a challenge, but also having a kid is the best thing in the world. Oh, no. It's been so cool to like have him come into this world and get to he comes down to the farm every once in a while, and he has he's like the crew's biggest fan club. He loves all of them. They all love him too, which is fun.
There's Big River chestnuts. There's roast chestnuts, and now we're driving down 47 to the Brussels sprout field for Riverland.
What are some of the other farms that are your neighbors here, Emily?
So this is Pachesnik land. He's since passed away, and one of his former employees is now running the farm right now, which is great.
That's me not putting my seatbelt on, everybody. I'm going to put my seatbelt on so we don't hear the beeping.
It's probably me too. Oh, it gets worse.
Oh, it gets really angry.
It really yells at you. See, it wasn't you, Monty, it was me. Here we are, right next to the police station.
Do they help?
That'd be fun.
That's a good question. Writ large.
I guess this isn't the field that we pay 3 landowners for, but it is one of our larger tracts of land.
Huge tracts of land!
And we got it a couple years ago, and it's been so clutch to have it so close to the farm. Because in the past, so much of our larger tracts of land have been like way up in Montague. And so we're like doing these large, big blocks of things all the way up there. And can you imagine just driving crops back and forth? Oh man, it's such a pain. And so it's been so nice to have these bigger tracts.
Every time you say tracts of land, I think of Monty Python, and I'm sorry.
I have already thought of that. And it was
The amount of times we quote Monty Python in this farm is kind of shameful.
huge tracts of land.
It sank into the swamp. So, I built a second one. That sank into the swamp. So I built a third one. That burned down, fell over, then sank into the swamp. But the fourth one...
This is why Monty had a CSA farm share here.
I love the huge tracts of land.
So yeah, this is the Brussels sprouts, or this is one of the Brussels sprout fields. This section that we're in is partially harvested. And so we do 2 different types of harvest for the Brussels sprouts, full stock, right? So you see that in grocery stores. It's definitely more of the like trendy way to buy a Brussels sprout, right? It's like buying a bunch of carrot instead of loose carrots. It's pretty, and they're like 2 feet tall, and you have all the sprouts on them.
They look like some sort of weapon.
Absolutely.
When you buy them like that.
You could club someone with them.
Like a lightsaber. It's a weird, nubby lightsaber.
Some people grow purple Brussels sprouts. You could have 2 varieties of lightsabers.
Oh my God. So then you can see if you're Sith or Jedi.
You are not a Jedi yet.
And then the other way that we sell them is loose, and that's what these guys are doing right now. We can go up there and say hi to them.
Yeah. What? What are you're working on the farm that you used to own? Farmer Megan, you're my first farmer.
I know, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Great to see you too. Megan Arquin, previous owner of Riverland Farm. Check it out.
What are you doing?
We are hand picking Brussels sprouts off of stalks. If you look out ahead, we came through here and blitzed this field. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, looks like you did a good job.
Buckets and buckets of like loose little tiny Brussels sprouts, and then they all go to the grocery store, and I see people display them in like big bins basically, and people just scoop Brussels sprouts for themselves.
Who else are you farming with? Who are these folks?
Well, this is Megan.
Hi. Megan.
This is May over here.
Hi, May.
This is Dilma and Gladys.
Hola.
And But yeah, these guys are trucking along in the sprouts today.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
but
yes.
Was it a hard decision to sell the farm and then come back and work on the farm?
No, it wasn't hard. You know, I thought, what might that feel like? But Emily and I have worked together for a number of years before we sold the farm, and so I knew she's actually, I've told her this, but she's one of my favorite people to farm with, so that felt like an easy decision.
Yeah.
So then it was really important to be supportive to the transition and see this farm into its new, iteration, and so that felt really important to me, and then it just kind of made sense.
So it's a really nice day out here. It's sunny, but this is the time of year, Megan and Emily, when you're talking about like every day you're waking up and like it might frost tomorrow.
And so there's Dave Hayes says maybe snow next week.
Yeah,
Right.
this
certain elevations.
will it, won't it, emotional whiplash of fall is the moment of farming that we're in right now.
Even like last week, someone was like, yeah, we got a frost next week. And I was like, not ready yet, but we saw the sweet potatoes in the greenhouse, and that's one of our big pushes pre-frost because they are not frost tolerant. Whereas something like Brussels sprouts, they're kind of on the edge, a little bit lower temperatures they'll handle. Carrots, they can handle really cold. They actually get better with the cold. So we start to look at this time of year where we're bringing some stuff in, we're kind of like prioritizing, like, what are we going to bring in? What can we like hold off? I do feel like every morning I look at my weather app and I'm like pretty sure that it's going to be 32 tomorrow. They're going to be like, surprise, frost tonight.
Unlike your home garden where a frost might mean that most things are done for the year, there's still a lot of work to be done
Absolutely.
as the year wraps up here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, Thanksgiving is actually a really big market for at least the food that we grow. And so these next couple of weeks actually are a really, really big push.
Do you cover crop any of the land that you've got?
We're actually standing on the little bit that we did cover crop, which you can see there's a clover underneath it. So when the brassicas are really small, in August usually, we can get a clover down. So you want to like clean them up, and then you get clover down, and then this will grow out really nicely in the spring. Other parts of it where we're like really doing this very last fall harvest, we won't get cover crop in, but it is part of the other drive for like sweet potatoes getting out of the ground. Pretty much anything getting out of the ground is like, how much cover crop can we get in? Because we want that land to both have coverage in the wintertime, but also then for nutrients in the future.
Emily, if people want to sign up for the winter farm share here at Riverland Farm in Sunderland, are there still slots available?
Yes, it's going fast, but there are a few spots left, and the first distribution is next week.
If you don't happen to slide into one of the last open shares for the winter CSA at Riverland Farm, there's also a bunch of other local farms that offer winter shares, and you can find out all about those at buylocalfood.org.
Sweet potato.
Hey, baked potato. No Brack fans okay, it's okay.
Brack from
Brack.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
Yes, he has 3
course.
albums and they're all gold. Mashed potatoes. Hey, sweet potato. The amount of love that I have for this album is just alarming.
A reminder that CSA is an underwriter of NEPM.
Later in the show, a preview of the Harvest Festival in Leverett, paired with a wine from Monsant, and Live Music Friday with 12-year-old Louis Phipps and friends.
Up next, NEPM's Media Lab talks with our very own Khalees Smith about her brand new book.
I'm waiting for the day when it stops feeling weird. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. This month we've been bringing you conversations with Western Mass authors of books for kids, and we're having young people themselves from NEPM's Media Lab conduct those interviews. Today, a voice familiar to Fabulous 413 listeners, reading from the new picture book that she co-authored.
But Morian was sad he'd never met his father, Sir Aglavale. Your father went on a quest and he hasn't yet returned, his mother told him. I will go on a quest to find him, said Morian. And so he and his horse headed north over land and sea across Europe into England. But no one he met had any news of his father. Nada, zip, zilch. And all of the knights he met seemed to want to fight, but Morian won every time. But winning wasn't everything. Morian was homesick. Questing was hard. Still, Morian refused to give up.
That was our very own Khalees Smith reading an excerpt from Sir Morian, the legend of a Knight of the Round Table. Khalees wrote the book with her friend, best-selling author Holly Black, who joined us earlier this week. Khalees was interviewed, or was that last week? I don't even remember
Last
now.
week.
Khalees was interviewed by Jeremiah Merced, a student at Springfield's Putnam Vocational Technical Academy. Jeremiah asked Khalees how long it took to publish the book. The answer? About 6 years.
Well, the pandemic kind of took a lot of time out of this process, but I don't think either of us really understood, because Holly does YA novels, and again, like, I do poetry. It's not hard to get my work out, but we didn't quite understand how much longer the process takes, like getting an illustrator, like having them attached to the project, how long it takes for like their art to become a part of it. Like after all of the stuff that we had done, we were done with our part of the script in 2018, but it wasn't until like basically last year that the whole book got finalized.
Wow, that's a really long process.
Yes,
it's crazy.
it is.
When you said 2017, damn, I was only like, can't even think about how old I was. It was so long ago. But wow.
Yeah, it's been a long process.
There's a lot of stories about the White Knights in King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table lore. How did you feel about writing the only Black Knight in this court and making the narrative a children's story?
Well, I think it's really important to, especially for the way that people think about medieval times, to try and broaden that for people. It's so Eurocentric. People forget that like literally the rest of the world was happening at the same time with, in a lot of cases, like civilizations that were way more advanced than Europe. But trade routes existed. People from Middle Europe, like France, England, were trading with folks from Northern Africa, from Southern Africa, from all over Asia. It's important to remember that that's true. So when we encountered this romance, we were like, oh, wait, there's a Black Knight of the Round Table and it's canon? Okay, cool. There's paintings of Sir Morian. There's other fanfic of Sir Morian, but this is the one that's based off of the actual romance, I think discovered in the 14th century initially. And he's the only one. He's the only Black member of the Round Table, which has so many knights, like just a pile of them. But finding that one needle, we thought, was really worth sharing.
I found it curious how there was like only one Black Knight, because we were doing our research about it, and it was like when we came across it, it was like, damn, most of the knights were white. So to see one Black Knight, that was like, oh yeah, this is interesting to me, and it's different.
Mm-hmm. But then you see like there's other points like in history where this happens. Like you see like the story of Yasuke, who was the one samurai who's part of Nobunaga's set of knights, and that's real too. Like it's interesting and important to see where those intersections happen, even if it's just the one person who got documented. That one person being documented, even though, you know, Arthurian tales are mostly fiction, not actual history. But when you find that one connection point, it's important to spread it around and make people understand that, like, no, we were here. We were also here. People knew it wasn't like Africa was being discovered. They'd always been involved in these things too.
Knowing this is a retelling of the tale of Sir Morian, what was the process in doing this research? Because I would assume that there's a lot of research that would go into this topic.
Well, Holly Black and I both have a pretty good base understanding of like the basic knights and the basic timeline of Arthur. He's born of Mab, like roams around the Welsh countryside, has some mishaps, shall we say, and forms the Round Table after taking control of Wales. But for this particular one, we, especially like with Morian's connection to Northern Africa, we wanted a lot of the illustrations to reflect more of that than the European side, because even when you see paintings of Sir Morian, you'll see him in a European set of armor, but then you'll also see him in Moorish garb. So we wanted to make sure that there were some elements of both medieval, Middle Eastern history and costuming in it, as well as European. And then just digging into this rather short romance itself was interesting to say the least. We cut a lot out. Like we had to simplify, like just like super concentrate this story to make it easier to digest for the age of kids that we were looking at. So there was a lot of editing and a lot of reframing, but it still kind of hits the main points of what happens in that original story of Sir Morian.
So I know you mentioned you cut some things out.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us an insight on like what things you would have cut out in the story?
In classic Arthurian fashion, there's like side quests all over in Sir Morian. Like when Morian meets Gawain and Lancelot and they decide to travel together, both Gawain and Lancelot get distracted by other things and like run off and leave Morian in this seaside town to do his own research, basically. And like that, there's a couple of pages of that, and the whole things that they get up to as well. Like Gawain accidentally kills this knight from this keep, but ends up sleeping at the keep, and he ends up in jail. Like Lancelot's off fighting beasts in the woods, and in the meantime, Sir Morian's still looking for his dad in what on the paper is an actual racist town where like the people will not talk to him because he has the mark of Cain. Like it's not until he joins back up with the knights that they actually give him information. It's a whole like interesting scene that they're like, hey, he's wandering through town looking for information and people are literally slamming doors in his face. We decided maybe not to add that part because there wasn't enough time to get into it. But it's like, it's interesting the different things that they got up to in basically all of that side questing that they had to do.
While reading this story, it stood out to me that Sir Morian envied and fought with Sir Lancelot, but Sir Gawain tried to mediate peace in the group. Why do you think it's important to show kids how to work as a team?
You're going to have to work with other folks your entire life, pretty much. Even being out in the wild, doing things like mostly on your own, there's no point where you're only going to have to work with yourself forever. You will have to learn to work with other people at some point. So let's get that in early, shall we? Learn to work together through your differences as much as you can.
I wanted to ask, what would you give, people my age? What advice would you give us?
Oh my gosh. Whew. Did I not just say it? I was like, work together. No, do I have advice? I don't know. I think I'm still learning a lot from the world around because like I often feel like I kind of don't know what I'm doing. I think my biggest piece of advice is ask questions. Just keep asking questions because even if people don't have answers for you, finding answers that work for you is probably going to be better than you just floundering in the dark.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Sure.
I think that hearing that and people being able to hear what you have to say is really important. Khalees Smith is the author of Sir Morian, Legend of the Knight of the Round Table. Khalees, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an honor.
No problem, Jeremiah. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This is a production of the NEPM Media Lab.
And that was NEPM Media Lab's Jeremiah Merced. He and his team put this interview together along with videos that you can find at nepm.org. We'll bring you the final interview from our Media Lab producers next Friday.
And later in the show, Live Music Friday with another very talented young person, 12-year-old Louis Phipps, who has an album release party happening at the Parlor Room in Northampton tonight.
Up next, Raising a Glass to the Harvest and the Harvest Festival in Leverett.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We're back at the Leverett Village Co-op for our Wine Thunderdome, where usually 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves, but we're doing 1 wine enters versus Fall Harvest Festival this Sunday at Leverett Village Co-op.
Why would you versus, though? Just do them both.
Everyone wins this time.
Everyone's going to be a winner, but we are here with Ken Washburn, who is a sommelier and also the manager of this wonderful only store in Leverett on Rattlesnake Gutter Alley Road. Yeah, before we get into the Fall Harvest Festival and your association with our guest, Professor Richard Little and Armored Mudballs.
Because there's a sticker on your laptop. It's wonderful.
That's how we knew you had an association with our previous guest. What are we drinking, Ken Washburn?
We're drinking the Can Blau. It's a red blend from Monsanto in Spain, and it is Grenache, Syrah, and Carignan. I'm thinking fall, darker fruits, beautiful label, beautiful trees, which they really showed up and surprised us this year.
I know. We were, Khalees and I have been talking about this.
You're throwing a party. Oh, whoops. We should maybe decorate.
I was one of those classic New Englanders that was like, well, I guess this year's fall foliage is a wash. Oh my God, that tree's amazing!
Yeah, and it's great because I think normally, the fall festival this weekend, I think normally we would have a lot of leaves on the ground by now, and it's gorgeous.
Let's drink a little bit of this wine and talk about that.
It has all grapes that I like in it, and it's from a region that I love.
And Monsanto is it's contrary to the name of the very problematic chemical manufacturer, has nothing to do with Monsanto.
That we know of.
That we know of, right. Black cherry.
I love the way that smells.
Yeah.
There's a good funk to it.
Mm-hmm. A little earthy, a little spicy.
Mm-hmm. What do you want this with?
This is the first thing I've put in my body today for what it's worth, so. Blueberry muffin maybe, some bacon, coffee maybe.
Some sort of meat with prunes, something stewed with dried fruit.
Stew, virtually any sort of not too spicy
And
stew.
not tomato-based stew.
Right.
What I would do with this is I would make a beef stew using this as the wine.
Which is a good rule of thumb. You don't have to get crap wine to put in your stews.
No.
If you have crap wine and want to put it in your stews, that's fine. It's better than drinking it,
But it goes against like all of the principles of literally everything people have been saying to you for the past 50 years, including Julia Child, who's like, use the wine you drink.
If you're not going to be ready to fail, you're not going to learn how to cook. That's what that little lecture is all about.
I'm getting like a spiced plum with this. I'm also getting kind of like a woody kind of thing.
Woody?
You're my favorite deputy.
That went right over my head. Excuse me, my name's Woody Boyd.
Woody? Hi, I'm Sam Malone.
This is gonna sound weird, but you know, to be a sommelier is to say weird things about wine.
Oh, of course.
It's like when you chew on your coffee stirrer. I think that's the tannins and also a little bit of spice.
I love when people are so specific about their specific wine things. That's what makes this all worthwhile.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's got that drying effect from the tannins, but to me it's almost part of the taste as well. Cheap coffee stirrer would, in a good way. This is really nice. It's always been a favorite, and everyone comes in and talks about the label, which we've got a iridescent foil situation going on here.
Yeah, it looks like a silver cross made out of diamonds, surrounded by blue diamonds.
Kind of holographic.
Yeah.
Very autumnal.
Something Lady Gaga would wear on her as a headdress. But this is going to be a perfect wine for any sort of hearty, especially meaty, mushroomy, fall-related food. Khalees, you just got some mushrooms in there.
I did. There was this giant, beautiful pile of hen of the woods, and I had to take some home because I've just been in constant mushroom mood, and it wasn't just going to Mycoterra that did that.
We were drinking on the patio, and two dog walkers who are going on a hike are looking at, like, why are you drinking wine at this time? What's your name?
Leslie.
Where are you from?
Leverett.
Jackie from Sunderland.
We've now shared this wine with you, just share the love.
It's like dessert wine. It's after the coffee and the muffin, and it was primo.
I will say it doesn't taste like a dessert wine, but it is your dessert today.
Exactly.
It was our dessert.
And what did you
today.
think?
No, it's very lovely. It's very fruity, I think. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of energy to go for your hike.
Well, that's right, if I don't fall asleep.
We're at the Leverett Village Co-op, the only store in Leverett, with Ken Washburn, the manager and sommelier, who curates this beautiful, albeit small, wine selection here at this beautiful, albeit small, Village Co-op. And this Sunday, we'll be celebrating fall here. What is happening this Sunday, Ken?
We are having a fall festival. It's going to be from noon to 4, and we have so many different kinds of events. I keep hearing about new things that get added, and I'm amazed every time. So we're going to have horse-drawn carriage rides. We're going to have horses from Muddy Brook Farm offering wagon rides starting at the co-op and going up Rattlesnake Gutter Road, just right up there. That's going to be really fun. We are going to have pumpkin painting for the kids.
What if I want to paint a pumpkin?
And for Monty. We're going to have chestnuts from Big River Chestnuts down in Sunderland. We're going to be roasting them right out front here. That's going to be really wonderful.
Chestnuts roasted on open fire.
Chestnuts roasting.
Too early for that.
A little too early for that. We're going to have s'mores. We are going to have free samples. I know that Cabot is coming to bring some cheese.
Oh, man. Cabot, speaking to co-ops, is like one of the oldest and one of the biggest co-ops, but they do so much for our dairy people here in New England.
We are going to have great live music. We're going to have Myrtle Street Klezmer and Silverback Swing. Kind of a Django Reinhardt inspired jazz situation. We're going to have a raffle for a beautiful basket, and one of the things in the raffle is the wine that we tasted a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
The La Cuva, yeah. So apparently there's going to be a stilt walker, there's going to be massage, fairy hair, which I think is when you get tinsel in your hair. I know, it just keeps going and going, right? Like,
what if you don't have hair?
Welcome to another riveting episode of The Bald and the Beautiful.
You just have tinsel on your head.
Yeah, I'm sure we have some kind of adhesive in the back I think we could use. We're also going to have tool sharpening by donation. Really, I think it's any tool you think could be sharpened.
Like knives too?
Yeah, I think knives too.
That's a good value, people. They used to do this, and they may be still at Thorns in Northampton, where like getting ready into extreme carving season.
It's time to split your wood for the winter.
Or yeah, if you need your just kitchen knives sharpened, sometimes you can go get these nice kitchen knives resharpened if you don't have that capacity or knowledge at home.
Yeah. Our kitchen's going to be open. Brian is going to be doing kind of a seasonal menu, and I am going to be pouring hard cider samples right here on our patio.
Is this the first Harvest Festival, or does this happen every year?
This is our first Harvest Festival. at least in the past 10 years.
And Ken Washburn here from the Leverett Village Co-op, I know you don't know what this is, but I think we would be remiss not to say that there's something called worm hunts that is going to happen here at the Harvest Festival amidst all the other things that are happening on Sunday.
Yeah,
which brings us to the dirt, which brings us to the mud. Tell us your connection to our guest from yesterday's show, Professor Richard Little, and his evangelism about the importance of armored mud balls.
Well, I was lucky enough to be one of his geology students. I think it was either fall 2020 or spring 2021. It was an online class at GCC, and it was awesome. It was actually my first foray back into college after dropping out to study wine over 10 years ago.
So you went from studying wine intensely, studying armored mud balls.
Exactly, because they're very closely related.
For those who don't remember what an armored mud ball is from yesterday's show, what is it?
Oh God, if he's listening, he's probably gonna shake his head. I got an A, okay? So I'm here to defend my A. An armored mud ball is when a clump of mud in the Jurassic period gets rolled into a stream, picks up pebbles as it rolls along the bottom of the stream, then is covered by a landslide or other action, then it becomes lithified, which means it turns to rock, and then we were lucky enough in Turner's Falls to have we have beautiful examples right here and where we live in Turner's, where you can see the mud and all the little pebbles surrounding it like a fairy ring.
Me.
Oh, wow. They're amazing. And Massachusetts, we have the best examples in the world.
And you only have until 5 o'clock today to write a letter to support making armored mud balls the official
state sedimentary structure.
That is correct. No states are as sedimental as we are here in Massachusetts.
Oh my
Sedimental?
Yeah.
Nice.
Really? I feel like all the states that border the Mississippi would have something to say about that.
That's true.
The Appalachian states, perhaps.
Suffice it to say, it's weird and amazing and shows how connected we are in the 413 that the sommelier who works here at the Leverett Village Co-op took a class from our guest yesterday who was in a totally disparate field of study about a very weird object that you can find most prominently here where we live in Massachusetts. I love it here.
It's really easy to go see them if you're in the area. They're right in Unity Park by the river.
And go see the armored mud balls on Sunday late morning and then come here to the Harvest Festival Sunday afternoon at the Leverett Village Co-op.
12 to 4. We do have a rain date, which is the next Sunday.
Ain't gonna rain.
Yeah, I've been watching Dave Hayes like a hawk. Because I don't know if you knew this, but Franklin County in July was the wettest place in the country.
I did not know that. Did Dave Hayes say that?
No,
I believe you though, Ken.
Maybe the Boston Globe said it. I'm not sure. I can never get past their paywall. But
we'll get on that for the next fun drive.
I will say that multiple sources have confirmed that Franklin County, Mass, was the wettest place in the country in July.
Wow, that gives us another thing to look into, Ken.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're continuing to open the onion of our wonderful area. And one more time, this delicious wine that we're drinking is...
It's the Con Blau Red Blend, which is Grenache, Syrah, and Carignan. And it's from Monsant.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
In response to Ken's claim about Franklin County being the wettest place in America for the month of July, the National Weather Service says more than 21 inches of rain fell in Conway, Massachusetts in the month of July, making it the wettest place not just in the whole country, but Canada as well. So the whole continent.
Well, I don't know about Mexico, though.
Fair.
And a shout out to the kids at the Conway Grammar School who I visited today to talk about hunger issues and the March for the Food Bank. They're doing a solidarity march.
Up next, Live Music Friday with 12-year-old Louis Phipps, who has an album release party at the Parlor Room in Northampton tonight.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith, and it's Live Music Friday.
And joining us is Louis Phipps, a 12-year-old singer-songwriter.
In 2021, he released an album of original music, Louis Phipps and Friends, We Are Together, with 18 adult professional musicians, including Chris Thiele of Nickel Creek and Punch Brothers and NPR fame, Sierra Hull, The Suitcase Junket, and last week's music guest, Corey Lightman from Cloudbelly.
Louis' music has been featured by the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, NPR's Morning Edition, NPR's Live from Here.
And he's got an album release party at the Parlor Room in Northampton tonight. He's joined by Anand Nayak on guitar, Paul Kohansky, and resident Live Music Friday drummer JJ O'Connell.
His third appearance on Live Music Friday.
More than anyone else has been on this show for the music portion. Corey's catching up to you, though.
Yeah, Corey Laidman's catching up. Yeah. Louis, let's do a song, and then we'll chat.
All right.
of his phone. Flutes and low to the lake falls home. When we've got it, I found a fry. Turns and dwindles over the broth of a pool so pitch black. Fell frowning, rounds and rounds of spades and drowning. Oh, 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 oh. Take it with you, dabble with you. The rolls of the braes at the brook treads through. Oh, wild free, that's the juice of burn. Heather, Ben, Bonnie, Ash, that's it's over the burn. Oh, 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 oh. Over the wood, you want to direct your way. In a wilderness, let them be left, yo. Let them be left, wildness and wet. Long live the weeds in the wilderness, yeah.
Phipps and friends. Louis playing acoustic guitar and singing, and Anna Nye playing the electric, Paul Kahansky on the bass, and J.J. O'Connell playing the drums. That was unbelievable. Are you like when the Dalai Lama dies and then there's like a reincarnated Dalai Lama? So like some blues man died and you're him? Like you picked up the right guitar at the right time?
You never know.
You were part of the Youth Performance Festival mentorship program that we talked about earlier this week on the show, right? How long ago was that?
Oh, man, that must have been...
Half a lifetime ago when you were 6?
Like 4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so basically half your lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And now you've got, this is your second album out tonight at the Parlor Room, and you've got these stellar, these are some of the best musicians in the Valley backing you up.
And I hear, like, making another stop at their showcase tomorrow, too. Is that correct?
Are you going to their showcase tomorrow? You don't have to say yeah.
Sure?
No, his parents are in the room, and
No,
but you can learn about YFP, your Youth Performance Festival, at Make It Springfield tomorrow.
Sure.
Where did you know that you got this? When did you know that you got this gift, and how did you begin to flourish it at such a young age?
I mean, I gotta thank my dad, because he plays music all around the house, different genres. I mean, there's not like an hour of the day where he hasn't played music.
Playing on guitar or playing music on records?
Just like Spotify records, CDs, yeah.
Got it.
And that's really where I got into music. And then at age 3, my grandma gave me this plastic Elmo ukulele. And that's what started the musician. Yeah.
Do you still play ukulele?
I guess you could say that, but honestly, it's been like I'm not as nearly as committed, and I know like very few chords at this point.
That's fair.
And you have a guitar that's sized for you at age 12, and you're playing it really, really well, better than I could play a normal-sized guitar right now. What?
That's the same size I started on.
You've worked with some really big names too, Sierra Hull and Chris Steele. Like, how did that relationship, let's say with Chris Steele, come about?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, Chris Thiele's show Live from Here became Live from Home, where like other people would play songs and it would be like broadcasted. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that was during the pandemic, right?
It's so long ago.
Yeah, all right.
It's a quarter of your lifetime ago.
Sorry, just double checking that. And my dad just sent in one of my songs to Chris Thiele, maybe hoping that it would get on the radio. And believe it or not, after that, it was told that it was going to be on Live from Here, and that was awesome.
That is incredible.
Oh, I think we should do our end scroll and let us end with Louis playing.
I think so too.
Okay.
Let's talk about what's going to happen next week on the show, and then we'll hear one more from Louis
All right.
Phipps. Next week, we'll discover some of the ghosts of the 413 with folklorist Jeff Belanger.
And we'll honor our ancestors on Dia de los Muertos in Pittsfield at Hot Plate Brewing.
We'll bring you Afrobeat next Live Music Friday with BCUC.
And hear about how hunger affects the 413 and how we try to combat it with a tour of the new food bank in Chicopee.
Let's hear one more from Louis Phipps, who is playing an album release party tonight at the Parlor Room for the new album, Under the Sky We Play, with his friends J.J. O'Connell, Anand Nayak, and Paul Kahansky. Take it away, 12-year-old Louis Phipps.
1, 2, 1, 2,
lost all my money but a $2 bill. $2 bill was $2 bill. Lost all my money but a $2 bill on my long journey home. Black smoke a rising and it surely is a train. Surely is a train, boys, surely is a train. Black smoke a rising and it surely is a train on my long journey home. Cloudy in the west, that it surely looks like rain. Surely looks like rain, boys, surely looks like rain. Cloudy in the west, that it surely looks like rain on my long journey home. Starting the rain and I've got to go home. Got to go home, yes you know, got to go home. Starting to rain and I've got to go home on my long journey home. Homesick and lonesome and I'm feeling kinda blue. Feeling kinda blue, boys, I'm feeling kinda blue. Homesick and lonesome and I'm feeling kinda blue on my long journey home. Lost all my money but a $2 bill. $2 bill, boys, $2 bill. Lost all my money but a $2 bill on my long journey home. On my long journey home. On my long journey home. I'm on my long journey home.
Louis Phipps, 12 years old, with his friends Paul Kahansky, Anand Nayak, and J.J. O'Connell. Did you write those lyrics, Louis? We got 10 seconds left.
No, I did not. That was a cover which was written a while ago by, honestly, I don't know
Well,
who.
you did it justice, Louis. Excellent work. We'll see you next week on the Fabulous 413.
Thank you.